This is Ken Pyle at the Media Innovation Summit 2011. We're with Louisa Shipnuck of Verizon. Louisa, you are an expert in digital media and media in general. You've been working for years in this area on the content side, and now at Verizon. You mentioned something in there talking about it being chaotic for the consumer for the next couple of years. What do you mean by that?
Well, consumers, and we're consumers ourselves, you and I, but for consumers at large, they want content at their disposal, when they want it, where they want it, in a way that's high quality, premium, exciting, engaging, follows them throughout their day. So what that means is they want their choice of devices on their choice of networks, on their choice of platforms. All of that creates a massive amount of complexity and challenge, not just in the choices they have, but for us as service providers, how do we serve to all of that complexity and that chaos? I also think there are new competitors coming to the fore. So there are a great deal of companies who are now trying to serve to this new consumer, a consumer who's highly interactive, other types of consumers who aren't. But there's a variety of ways consumers can get their content. So where they're getting it, on which device they're getting it, on which network, by which service provider, all of that's creating a massive amount of choice. Now, at Verizon Digital Media Services, we're treating all of that fragmentation as a given. And we're building a system for simplification and automation and integration underneath so that we can support all of that consumer choice.
I guess that was the app we saw in Ann Schwab's presentation. There's kind of to bring it all together.
Well, Fios, for which Ann is part, is the retail part of Verizon. The part that I sit is actually agnostic. So Fios will be a customer of ours. What Ann showed you yesterday, that will be a customer that we'll serve to, but we'll also work with regional MSOs. We'll work with the Hulus and the Netflix and the iTunes. We will serve anybody that wants to create a great consumer experience. So Verizon is a multifaceted organization engaged in this environment in any number of ways. So that's the retail group. I'm part of a wholesale group, and I will be focusing on the networks, the infrastructure, the automation underneath, so that whatever the business model, whatever the consumer experience, whatever the network, it is served up in a premium, reliable, high-quality Verizon class manner.
Well, that's interesting. So it's not only a workflow process, but I imagine it's also the delivery through the network.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so what we're all struggling with today, and what the environment has struggled with, is that it wasn't media purpose-built. It was based for web objects. It was built for web acceleration, web page acceleration, but now we're living in an all-media environment where we expect media to follow us throughout the course of the day on any device we want it. So we at Verizon Digital Media Services are focusing on a media purpose-built delivery environment. So there's the content services aspect, which is treating the encode, transcode, and preparation of the content, but then also the unicast delivery on a massive scale that just hasn't existed until this point, media specific, video specific.
And in the last mile network, you're neutral to it.
It is. If we are ingesting, automating, and delivering all the way to the end user through the last mile, then clearly it's a different kind of experience because we can control it from start to finish. But even if it's on a last mile provider that isn't our own, we will have technologies accelerating that experience nonetheless.
Interesting.
So we are agnostic, correct?
Yeah, so it's a whole other aspect that wouldn't be obvious, if you just looked at Verizon. I mean, clearly, with things like your purchase of MCI many years ago, it gives you and some of your cloud computing initiatives. I suppose those are some of the elements that make this possible.
Some of the elements, but we are also building our own media factories that are media environments, one based in Virginia, one in Los Angeles, where the content is treated, transformed, packaged. And then we're building super edge centers around the country and eventually around the world so the content is replicated at these environments, and we're bringing session shifting, ad service, all of these things that typically were third party into those environments. So we're really building these mega centers that have the scale, the quality, the volume that media requires that hasn't really existed to date.
Well, kind of shifting into the consumer, back to the consumer a little bit. One of the things I think we'll hear on this next panel is the whole idea of the youth wanting to produce as much as they want to consume. And I would imagine what you're building is capable of doing that as well. So it's not just from the Hollywood studios, but it's from my son.
Could be, absolutely. What we tend to be most concerned about is premium quality content, because that's where you have the requirements for 1080i. It's where you have HD requirements. It's where you have these giant files that have to move through an environment. And if it's live, it can't be utilizing packet switch. It really has to come through the environment using an incredible amount of bandwidth. A lot of user-generated content is low res. It actually can be served by the environment today much better than with the premium quality, high resolution, the content that consumers will pay for.
Yeah, so you're really talking about
that different.
Talking about protected content. So you're probably wrapping conditional access of some sort.
Absolutely, but we're agnostic to whatever the business model is. So we'll work with all of our partners. If one is ad-supported, we'll be able to enable that. If it is paywall and subscriber-based, we'll support that. If it's a brand new model that hasn't really been generated to date, we'll support that too. We're making sure the infrastructure and the network is scalable for media with the quality and reliability that Verizon has been known for all these years.
Now, does it go beyond the infrastructure part too, and can you actually bring in your ad sales, if you will, say you're an upstart network or maybe established network?
Eventually. So our first two product lines are really content services and unicast delivery, but we will be getting into an advanced or enhanced advertising as well as micro merchandising. But those are roadmap items that are a little protracted into probably 2013.
And can it, the network you're building with the transcoding and so forth, it can support a connected TV as well as a device like this. What about set-top boxes, traditional set-tops?
Anything. So the difference is in the world of yesterday, that one MES file needed to be replicated into, let's say, 50 different types of files. Now that may be 10,000, it might be 100,000. So that transcode volume is unbelievable. And it's because we have to support every device, every network, anything a consumer may want. And that's our expectation. That's the given. That's the table stakes.
So, is it a challenge? Given you have a Verizon, given a Verizon name, as far as going into companies that could potentially be competitors with the corporate mothership.
Right. Well, the good news about having a wholesale division, and it's a multi-billion-dollar division, is that we're used to working with our competitors. AT&T is our biggest customer for the company. And so wholesale is great at working with all players in an environment, whether or not another division may deem them a competitor. So we're in the sweet spot of being able to be agnostic to the environment and just help lift up and lift off digital media for the consumers.
And one other aspect of it is analytics part of your package?
Absolutely. Now, we'll be working with our partners, the retailers who have the consumer relationship, or the content owners who are going direct. They will all require different kinds of analytics and metrics. And as Unicast truly has liftoff, there are going to be different kinds of metrics that are very individualized that can come to the fore. But we'll need to work with our partners and figure out how to treat those analytics and reporting. But the engine we're building will be capable of unbelievable personalization updates, bundling feedback, everything that will really help that upsell to micro-merchandising and hyper-targeted advertising.
Which is the future, I suppose.
Which is the nirvana. But we're building the environment so all those things are possible. And analytics and reporting are, in fact, part of it.
And hopefully make things a little less chaotic for the average Joe. Huh?
Right, because so far I think the consumer, they may see buffering, they may see breakage, they may see low res, but there's a lot more of that's going to come unless companies like ours are really future-proofing this environment and really helping to build the infrastructure so that consumers really can have a seamless nirvana experience and get that content wherever they want it in a timely way, in a time-sensitive way, in the manner that they choose and select and are willing to pay for, or in covenant with whoever the content owner is for ad-supported or what have you.
Super. Well, Louisa, appreciate your time and for explaining
this.
Here.
Yeah, Thank you so much. Great to be here. Great to see you.